Hello everyone, this is EdRay1416 here with the Rant on Feminism. Here we go folks, a very hot topic that keeps getting worse day in and day out. Now I'm not going to rant about the first generation wave of feminism because it was the only justified generation. However, I will address the second generation and downright explain my hatred for the third generation wave of feminism. But let's start off with the definition of the word. Feminism means the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of sexes. Equality. How does shaming men, commanding them to kiss women's butt, and coercing itself with companies to make it difficult for men to get a job, equality? Equality means both the men and the women are 50-50 on everything. So why are there more women than men working in America now? Let's go back to the late 1950s at the start of the second generation wave of feminism. The economy was booming under Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency. The economy was booming so much because of construction of jobs, including the interstate system. So the households were getting overwhelmed. Women decided they wanted to get a job and support their husbands. Why was that? Because women thought that working to provide extra income would improve the quality of their children's lives. Remember, these were the people that endured all sorts of bad things during the Great Depression. Quarantines for scarlet fever, measles, influenza, etc. What about people getting crippled with polio? So these second-generation feminists didn't want their kids growing up without anything. I mean, yes, it's a spacious argument that they wanted their kids to be happy, but at the same time came the demoralization of the American family. The second-generation wave of feminism was mainly about women's rights in the workforce. But then bedlam broke loose during the 1960s under Lyndon B. Johnson's presidency. Women were not only liberating themselves from the kitchen to the workforce, but they started liberating themselves to attend parties, random orgies, etc. Meanwhile, children were becoming lazy due to rebellion promoted in Hollywood, and it was on the radio. When women left their children alone to fend for themselves, that was the beginning of the demoralization of the American family. So the moderate women and blue-collar families went to work in factories while the hardcore liberal women marched out on the streets to legalize abortion, make contraception affordable so women can open their legs to any man they want without worrying about getting pregnant. These kids that rebelled in the 1960s and 1970s have become known as the baby boomers. The rebels that gambled their earnings, fed their kids scraps, talked down to their kids constantly with colorful language, burned the American flag, etc. Second-generation feminism really hit its peak in the 1980s when many children were conceived illegitimately when women were dressed pretty slutty with terrible hairdos. The 1980s was a time where men and women did cocaine. Some women snorted coke and smoked crack while they were pregnant. And you wonder why the millennials are believed to be the most messed up generation of all time. Women opening their legs, not eating good food during pregnancy, etc. Factor in that mothers were working and often not teaching their kids morals. The adults of today think that homosexuality and transgenderism are acceptable are completely lost. You know why there are more single people in America than any other time? Number one, the lack of motivation for a man to get out of that chair, go to a social gathering, and simply talk. Number two, women take offense to criticism, compliments, and affection in general. Number three, the rise of homosexuality in America. According to the Census Bureau, 23% of the American population is homosexual. How do these two groups intertwine? It's the common complaint that they are being oppressed by heterosexual patriarchs. Single mothers being overprotective of their sons to the point where they can't go out and socialize with women. Meanwhile, the daughters of single mothers are going places. Is that fair to the men to be held down by their single mothers while the mothers go out to gamble, drink, whore themselves to random crack addicts on the streets to earn some money? No. Feminists want equality, yet they are getting government assistance, run-of-the-mill jobs that men worked, child support because the mother didn't want to work things out with the father, yet by default, they are the victims and the men are enemies according to liberal logic. That's why fewer people are getting married and having babies. Either because feminist mothers keep their sons from going out and experiencing life, feminists falsely indoctrinating children that homosexuality is good, etc. One of the most insulting things so far about the third generation wave of feminism is that women are still protesting over Donald Trump. If any of you remember Women's March, it was a protest of women screaming, "Not my president," and oftentimes would assault Trump supporters at Trump rallies. Women that support Trump getting burned, punched in the face, etc. The most disgusting thing that I've ever seen is something that I cannot show you, but I'll tell you. One day while I was reading reports regarding Women's March, I saw a picture of women dressed up as vaginas. What makes it even worse is that children were present in those protests with women dressed up as vaginas. How sick is that? We are all up in arms when pedophiles commit their heinous acts on children, yet women dressed up in vaginas in the presence of their kids is acceptable? Feminists keep getting worse every day. I fear for the life of me and others that feminism is going to cause the downfall of the population of America someday if the patriarchs do not fight back and teach the kids about the truth about the real world. Homosexuality is wrong. Feminism is wrong. Liberalism is wrong. Feminists are immediately insulted not just when men talk, but when they even look at a man. If this is what I have to deal with daily, then I would rather die alone. Anyway, this is Edray1416 here with a rant on feminism. Thank you and good day.